Award, Auschwitz staff, Nazi Germany, Erich Muhsfeldt crimes, Holocaust in Poland, Nazi occupation of P. The date, July 22, 1944. Soviet soldiers pushed through the darkness of occupied Poland and stumbled upon something that would shake the world to its core. What they discovered at Majdanek was beyond comprehension. A factory of death, meticulously designed to extinguish human life on an industrial scale. Among the architects of this nightmare was a man whose name would become synonymous with pure evil, Erich Muhsfeldt. If you're ready to uncover one of history's darkest chapters and witness how justice finally caught up with one of the Holocaust's most sadistic perpetrators, then smash that subscribe button right now. Hit the notification bell because Fleek of History brings you the stories that changed our world forever. Let's dive in. The Liberation. When Red Army forces breached Majdanek's gates that summer night, they became the first Allied troops to liberate a major Nazi extermination facility. The camp stood virtually intact, a grotesque museum of systematic murder. Soviet officials immediately summoned international journalists, understanding that the world needed to see this horror with their own eyes. What they witnessed defied imagination. Mountains of shoes, hair piled like hay, crematorium ovens still warm from their final victims, and only 500 Jewish prisoners remained alive out of the estimated 80,000 to 120,000 who had perished there. This wasn't the only death camp though. As Allied forces advanced across Europe throughout 1944 and 1945, they encountered similar sights of incomprehensible cruelty. On January 27, 1945, Soviet troops liberated Auschwitz, the largest killing center in Nazi-occupied Poland. Conservative estimates place the death toll at 1.1 million souls out of 1.3 million people deported there between 1940 and 1945. Behind these staggering numbers stood individual monsters, men who woke up each morning and chose evil. Erich Muhsfeldt was one of them, the making of a monster. Born February 18, 1913, in Neubrück, Germany, Erich Muhsfeldt seemed unremarkable in his early years. He completed elementary education in 1927 and trained as a baker by 1930. He married, had a son, and lived an ordinary life. Until Adolf Hitler's appointment as Chancellor on January 30, 1933, opened new opportunities for men willing to embrace darkness. Muhsfeldt joined the SA that same year, demonstrating his enthusiasm for the Nazi cause early. By 1937, he transferred to the SS, and in 1939 became a full Nazi Party member. His timing was strategic. War was coming, and ambitious men could rise quickly in the chaos. September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland, igniting World War II. By January 1940, Muhsfeldt had secured a position with the SS Totenkopf Verbände, the Death's Head units. This elite Waffen-SS division bore a skull and crossbones insignia on their collar, a fitting symbol for their ghastly purpose. Theodor Eicke, Dachau's first commandant and later inspector of all concentration camps, had established these units in 1934 with a specific mission: administering Nazi concentration and extermination camps throughout German-controlled territory. The Death's Head units trained their members in strict discipline and deliberate cruelty, indoctrinating them to view prisoners as enemies of the state who deserved annihilation. This was the final solution: the Holocaust, and Muhsfeldt would become one of its most enthusiastic executioners. Auschwitz. The beginning. August 1940 marked Muhsfeldt's arrival at Auschwitz, where he served as head of prisoner commandos and block leader. Here, he learned the mechanics of mass murder and discovered he had a talent for it. Or more accurately, an appetite. But his true calling awaited him elsewhere. Majdanek, death's administrator. In November 1941, Muhsfeldt transferred to Majdanek concentration camp, assuming command of the crematorium and the units responsible for burning murdered prisoners' bodies. This position gave him tremendous power over life and death. During the winter of 1941-42, camp authorities began experimenting with Zyklon B gas in makeshift chambers, targeting prisoners too weak for labor. By October 1942, full-scale gas chamber operations commenced, continuing until late 1943. At least 3 gas chambers operated at Majdanek, with 2 converted shower rooms using Zyklon B. Tens of thousands of Jews died at Majdanek. Some gassed immediately upon arrival, others worked to death under brutal conditions, and still others executed by firing squad. The camp also stored personal belongings stolen from Jews murdered at Belzec, Sobibor, and Treblinka killing centers. Muhsfeldt oversaw it all with twisted enthusiasm. Operation Harvest Festival. In late October 1943, Jewish forced laborers received orders to dig massive trenches, supposedly for air defense. The prisoners suspected the truth. Between November 3rd and 4th, 1943, Approximately 43,000 Jews were massacred at Majdanek, Poniatowa, and Troniki camps in what the SS codenamed Operation Harvest Festival. The victims were ordered to strip naked and walk into the previously dug trenches in groups of 10. SS execution squads, 10 to 12 men strong, forced them to lie down, then shot them in the neck. Loudspeakers blared music to drown out the gunfire. This became the largest single massacre of Jews carried out by German forces during the Holocaust. Heinrich Himmler, the SS chief, had ordered it directly following several Jewish uprisings in ghettos and camps. Erich Muhsfeldt participated enthusiastically in the shooting. The sadist's playground. Muhsfeldt wasn't just following orders. He reveled in cruelty. Constantly drunk, he carried a thick truncheon that he used to beat prisoners unconscious for no reason whatsoever. Witness testimony reveals the depths of his depravity. Once, he noticed a prisoner smile at a wagon driver. Muhsfeldt immediately approached, punched the man's jaw so hard he collapsed, then kicked him repeatedly across his entire body, knocking out 3 teeth in the process. On another occasion, after beating a prisoner with his fists until the man fell, Muhsfeldt grabbed a shovel handle and jammed it into the prisoner's throat, leaving him to die in agony with the handle still lodged there. As crematorium chief, Muhsfeldt would randomly approach prisoners and declare, "I'm going to get you soon, and I'm warning you. I'm going to burn you alive." He made good on these threats. A young Polish woman in her late 20s learned she was scheduled for the gas chamber. When she fought back, scratching Muhsfeldt's face and screaming, "Why am I to die?" he responded, "You will be burnt alive." He ordered her hands and feet bound, tied her to the trolley used for loading corpses into the ovens, and pushed her into the flames. Fully conscious, long queues of prisoners regularly formed outside the crematorium, waiting to be hanged on hooks along the wall before their bodies were burned. Muhsfeldt selected victims from among the weakest inmates on days when natural deaths were low, maintaining consistent mortality rates to satisfy his superiors. Holocaust survivor Jerzy Lang testified witnessing Muhsfeldt walking toward the crematorium carrying Jewish children, 2 in each hand. Moments later, gunshots rang out. To mask the sounds of execution, guards started a truck engine parked beside the building. Return to Auschwitz. In May 1944, Muhsfeldt returned to Auschwitz, where he supervised Birkenau's crematoria during the liquidation of hundreds of thousands of Hungarian Jews. Birkenau served as the extermination center within the vast Auschwitz complex. His cruelty continued unabated. His commandos beat women to death with rods in the crematorium. Muhsfeldt's specialty became striking prisoners' backs with his whip, reportedly smiling as victims who disobeyed were pushed, sometimes alive, into the fiery furnaces. Once, Jewish boys from the Warsaw Ghetto, separated from their parents, were summoned for roll call. When the terrified children scattered in confusion, Muhsfeldt flew into a rage. After they were rounded up, all were sent to the gas chambers and killed. Dr. Miklos Nisli, a Hungarian Jewish prisoner forced to serve as a camp physician, witnessed Muhsfeldt's callousness firsthand. After shooting 80 prisoners in the back of the head one day, Muhsfeldt came to Nisli for a medical checkup. His blood pressure was dangerously high. When the doctor suggested it might be from killing 80 people, Muhsfeldt angrily replied that it made no difference to him whether he killed 1 or 80 inmates. If his blood pressure was elevated, he insisted it was from drinking too much. Another incident haunted Dr. Nisli. A 16-year-old girl miraculously survived the gas chamber. An extremely rare occurrence. Nisli begged Muhsfeldt to spare her life. The request was denied. To ensure the girl died, Muhsfeldt had her shot in the back of the neck. Flossenburg and the Death Marches. In August 1944, Muhsfeldt was sent to the front lines, participating in the battle for Hungary before being wounded and transferred to Flossenburg concentration camp in early April 1945. The camp's conditions were horrific. Prisoners frequently committed suicide rather than endure further torture. Nazi personnel routinely carried out executions, administered whippings, and ordered exhausting roll calls that lasted for hours. Shortly after Muhsfeldt's arrival, Flossenburg was evacuated. During the death march that followed, witnesses saw him shoot dozens of prisoners too weak or sick to continue walking. For all these atrocities, for masterminding mass murder, for individual acts of sadism, for contributing to the deaths of hundreds of thousands, the Nazi regime awarded Erich Muhsfeldt the War Merit Cross Second Class. Justice delayed, justice delivered. When Allied forces finally ended the war, Muhsfeldt was captured. In January 1947, a U.S. military court tried him for atrocities committed at Flossenburg and sentenced him to life imprisonment. But that wasn't the end. Poland demanded his extradition, where new evidence revealed the full scope of his war crimes. He was retried by the Supreme National Tribunal at the Auschwitz trial in Krakow, which began November 24, 1947, and lasted 1 month.
During the war, Muhsfeldt had told one Polish political prisoner, "If you Poles weren't such fools, we wouldn't have to burn you in crematoria." The Polish Supreme National Tribunal found Erich Muhsfeldt guilty of crimes against humanity in December 1947 and sentenced him to death by hanging. On January 24, 1948, at Montelupich prison in Krakow, Erich Muhsfeldt was executed. He was 34 years old. His body was subsequently delivered to medical students at the University of Krakow as anatomical study material. According to Dr. Niesli, Muhsfeldt's family suffered their own tragic fate. His wife was killed in an air raid, and his son was sent to the Russian front. No tears were shed for Erich Muhsfeldt. Remember, the liberation of camps like Majdanek and Auschwitz exposed the world to humanity's capacity for systematic evil. The 500 survivors found at Majdanek and the inmates discovered at other camps carried stories that must never be forgotten. Erich Muhsfeldt represents just one perpetrator among thousands who participated in the Holocaust. His execution delivered justice, but it couldn't restore the lives he stole or erase the suffering he inflicted. History's darkest chapters demand our attention. They challenge us to recognize evil when it emerges and to stand against it. If this story moved you, subscribe to Fleek of History right now. Share this video so others can learn these crucial lessons. Hit that like button, and drop a comment telling us what historical topic you want us to cover next. Together we keep history alive so these atrocities never happen again. I'll see you in the next one.